Okay, and I'm looking in at some of the messages that are coming in, and very, very interesting, particularly after we announced that the Nyeri woman rep would be joining us in studio. Mheshimiwa Priscilla Nyokabi, thank you very much for your time this evening. A lot of people, of course, are very excited that you're here tonight because, of course, of among other issues, what has dominated social media and the media as well, the few reported cases of domestic violence, that against men on the domestic front, and we'll be touching on that shortly. But let me begin with you, Mheshimiwa. Tell us about your experience as a female leader in the country. Where would you say women are currently as regards leadership? Have women finally found their voice in the male-dominated political arena?
Not yet. Parliament is still very much a gentleman's club. Actually, not a gentleman's club, a rough man's club. So that when women come in there, it's still very, very patriarchal, and we have like 281 men against only 67, I think, women from all the levels. So it's better environment now with the new constitution, and I think better environment also with the Jubilee administration that has given women, critical slots in the cabinet and in the permanent secretaries levels, but we still suffer quite a bit of discrimination. Gender issues attract sometimes ridicule, sometimes not very serious debate, and bills like protection against domestic violence, you really quite struggle to get those ones across. I mean, the two-third gender debate now is still nobody is quite clear. We are hopeful that we have many more men who would support the women agenda, but I think that we have some distance to cover.
And would it be a fair statement to say that women, because this has been said historically, that women in leadership have to work twice as hard as men? Do you find yourself in that position?
Actually,
where you feel
not twice. I think it's like 4 times more than what men do. I mean, the only thing we all say as women is that luckily it's not very difficult to work hard and to work extremely hard. To be noticed, for example, on the floor of the House, you have to come in like 2:30, sometimes as early as 2:20, so that you could get to speak at about 4 o'clock. Otherwise, a lot of men are the leaders, the majority leader, the minority leader, the whips. Most of those positions are actually male positions. A lot of the chairpersons are male. So if you're a woman and you want to speak in Parliament, you have to really, sort of put in extra time, come in early, do your research as well. So it's true that we have to work many, many more times. I mean, if you look at the women in cabinet, the same thing. I mean, for the women to shine, they have to do like maybe 3-4 times what men do. But it's not difficult. I mean, for all women out there, it's not backbreaking, and it won't kill you. Hard work has never killed anybody.
Although critics will argue that that the women could be more vocal in the House, but like you're saying, it takes a bit of effort. You have to come in early. You have to actually have that drive. But let's talk about the perception that women in leadership are their worst enemies, and the fact that you're not really supportive of each other. How do you guys relate to each other, for example, in the House, even with your area MP, for example, who happens to be a woman? How do you relate with each other, and not just just you, but generally, what sense do you get as regards women in leadership, and whether or not you are working together as a team towards the same purpose?
We do work together, and luckily we have the Kenya Women Parliamentary Association, to which all of us are members, and I do chair Caucus 47 for all the women representatives. So we make sort of the best effort to be a sister's keeper. We watch out for the sisters in cabinet, but what has happened is that this theory that women are their worst enemies is a male theory. Is patriarchy putting a wedge against women. All the time they will say these are rural women, these are urban women, these are educated women, these are not educated women. But at the end of the day, I think that the women are one tribe. It is easier for a woman to understand the plight of another woman. Only a mother can understand what a working mother goes through, a lot more than a father. So in the country now, a lot more still needs to be done for women to find linkages, for women to find synergy. But so far in Parliament, it's not as bad. We do try to work together. A lot of times on the critical votes, where women votes count, we will pull together. On the 2/3 gender law, for example, we are all pulling in the same direction towards making sure that there are more women in Parliament.
And the reason why I asked this particular question is most recently the plight of Monica Juma, the rejected secretary to the cabinet, and just curious about the women that came out in camaraderie, in support of her. For instance, I'm curious to know, did you vote for her?
Yes, I did. I voted for her. Actually,
okay.
I tried to convince a lot more people to vote for her. But sometimes on cases like Monica Juma, it isn't so much a gender issue as it is, you know, a lot of hard tackling politics. She was going to come in as cabinet secretary, a secretary to the cabinet, which is like, you know, surrounding the president. So that level of presidency, I think that's where the fight came from. It's not a gender fight per se, but a lot of us women, I think about 15 women did vote for her and tried to push.
Out of how many?
Out of the 67, but I mean, the politics of it became, I mean, it was really one of those very, very difficult situations for Parliament. Much of it turned on the power that she was going to acquire as a woman. But the good thing about the whole Monica situation is, one, the appointing authority, the president, did believe in a woman secretary to the cabinet. Monica did not lose this job because of her qualifications or integrity. She's now lost it on a couple of other, you know, sort of politics that you know, are neither here nor there. But women did try to vote for her. I think that we should do more, and the Kenyan people expect us women to rally behind each other more, and I think that's the message. During the CS Waigoro's time, many women did not sign the petition, and many women stood with her. I think that is what we should increasingly see when women issues come onto the floor. So just too bad about Monica, and the hope now is that Parliament lets her go on with her job as PS Interior. The matter is over. Parliament has spoken. Let the woman go and do her job now.
Right. And before we take a short break, I just want to read out some of the messages that are coming in for you. And somebody here is saying, Lillian, say hi to my able women rep. This profiling and stereotyping of Nyeri women must stop. Has anyone ever done a scientific research to differentiate between indigenous Nyeri women and those who come from other counties who get married here? Food for thought. And this is coming in from a gentleman. And another one. Don't tarnish Nyeri women because a few mad women of a few mad women. Do you mean if a madman visits your village, you're all mad? This is what somebody's asking. Nyeri is not a Kiawara. Kiawara is a slum like any other slum in Kenya. Nyeri is a productive county with immigrants from all over Kenya. With immigrants comes all evils and atrocities. And this is a proud Nyeri, and that's what they're calling themselves. So hold your thoughts. When we come back, we'll be talking to Honorable Priscilla Nyokabi on issues surrounding the stereotypes surrounding the Nyeri woman. Is the Nyeri woman violent? Is she arrogant? Is she malicious? Is she all those things that you guys have been saying she is on social media? We'll find out from the women's rep herself. Stay tuned. The hashtag is #1on1. I'm in studio with Nyeri woman rep Priscilla Nyokabi, and Mheshimiwa, the stereotype is that Nyeri women are violent. There are cases that have been reported from all over the country, but for some strange reason, the spotlight is on Nyeri County and Nyeri women. What is happening out there?
No, it's been very sad with these stories. I don't know what the joke is here, but in Parliament they call them the Transformers.
Yeah.
So the stories of the Transformers have been very traumatizing. I mean, just really, really worst cases of gender-based violence. That's been sad, and the law is taking its course. Those who perpetrated those crimes will really just be handled by the law. But in Nyeri, one of the good things about the Nyeri woman, other than the stereotypes, is that she's actually a strong, assertive Kikuyu woman. And there's nothing wrong about that. What happened from the history, we are told that during the Mau Mau, most of the men went to fight in the Mau Mau, the sons and the fathers. And so the mothers were left to fend for the families. And so, you know, increasingly became really strong and able to hold families. And if you look at our Mau Mau struggle, you actually find a lot of women did participate in the struggle to get the independence. And so we're born of mothers who are strong and who give family values. And for me, I'm very proud of that a Nyeri woman is an assertive woman. So this stereotype has no value. We have hard-working women, we have women who hold families together, and a woman who fought, for example, FGM, and FGM in Nyeri ended early in the 1960s, even when neighboring counties stayed with FGM until later in the 70s. It was Nyeri was among the first Kikuyu counties to end FGM because the women then refuse to go through FGM. So beautiful Nyeri women. And we're asking the country really to respect the Nyeri woman as such. The stereotypes are not helpful. I think the young men should not fear. Some of the best women to marry are actually Nyeri women. Some of the most hardworking women are Nyeri women. But gender-based violence across this country, we should all say no.
The concern across the board is that some of these stereotypes hold, and there are people out there whose, you know, proposals or possible proposals or even relationships have been affected by some of these thoughts and some of these views. So what to do to demystify this? What to do to actually clean shop and sort of just regain the honor and the respect of the Nyeri woman?
I think we need to do quite a lot. One of the worst things about our county, not just County Nyeri, but Central, has been the alcoholism. So a lot of our men have really succumbed to the alcohol problem. It came with the collapse of coffee industry. So the efforts now to revive coffee and to revive tea and to revive our industrial capacities, milk, I think that should see more men getting back into employed labor, because this lack of employment, I think, came with a huge crisis on alcoholism. I just saw Muratina on the news earlier. I mean, maybe the country should now consider such local brews, because the illicit brews have dealt our men a bad blow. So what has happened is you have a woman now who's working and trying to earn, and you have a man who's spending all his time on alcohol, and this man comes home and wants food, and I think that's causing all the bitterness that we can see around gender-based violence. So dealing with alcoholism is a priority for our county. Rehabilitation centers, the rule of law, curtailing illicit brews, and just, preaching to our men that, alcoholism has its own problems. The church and the Kikuyu culture, I think, also need to come in and just, take us back to what a good husband should do and what a good wife should also do.
And I'm glad you brought up the alcoholism, because a bulk of the messages that are coming in from the Nyeri women, because a lot of them are coming out and they're fighting out and they're saying this generalization has to stop, is that Nyeri men are weak. And so just a flip and them saying that, alcoholism has become a major problem out there in central Kenya. Alcohol abuse by men in central province, drinking too much to the extent they are of no use to their families, like you said. So in 3 years, Priscilla, that you've been in leadership, what have you done together with the other area leaders just to address this problem?
One of the things that I have done myself was to set up a gender-based violence desk at the Nyeri Central Police Station, because we need more of these cases reported and we need more of the perpetrators punished, be they men, be they women. The other thing we're doing a lot of is churches and using the religious organizations to speak about the scourge of alcoholism. We have a lot of sports, anti-alcohol games, because eventually taking alcohol is a choice. Whether illicit brews come to the county or not, taking that alcohol is a personal choice. So we do have a lot of anti-alcohol games where we empower the young people and give them alternatives. Ways of Fund has been very helpful. We championed that quite a lot in Parliament. And all of our area leaders speak about alcoholism, that we just must deal with this problem. Our governor and the county assembly have passed the law, the alcoholic bill in Nyeri, just, sort of dealing with some of those issues. But, I think that's not enough. We still have to do a lot more to fight the scourge. We have fundraised for a rehabilitation center, government-owned and government-run. I think that should bring the costs down around the people who need rehabilitation. And then just primary schools and secondary school boys, and sometimes even girls, just speaking to them about alcohol and drug abuse, and hope that that's going to deal with the problem. But let me just quickly say also, one of the good things about Nyeri is that we actually do get married at home. So it's not that Nyeri men are weak. In fact, the story is always the men who, when the problem spills out of hand, I think when there is one party is not from Nyeri. Otherwise, all of us, our mothers are still married, our grandparents were married, we are all married in Nyeri. It's not as bad. And really, I want to encourage all the young men not to fear the Nyeri women. In Parliament, there are many, many jokes. Every time people see me coming, they say, hey, I better hold my, maybe I should buy this new underwear. No, it's not as bad. We have good women, and the stereotypes, I think, should end.
Okay. And those are the thoughts of Nyeri Woman Representative Priscilla Nyokabi. Thank you very much for your time, and thank you for being a voice for the Nyeri woman out there. Not just the Nyeri woman, but women across the country. I suppose the value systems in our homes and just generally in society need to be looked into so that this generalization can stop. But what are your thoughts? The SMS number is 22422. The hashtag is #1on1. Kindly talk to us. Let's take a short break now. We will be right back.